Hi everyone, Susan here at the Sacramento History Museum, coming to you live on our third floor. If you can hear me, can I just get a thumbs up to make sure that our sound is working, because I'd hate to get started and not have the sound working. So please, just a thumbs up if you can hear me, and we'll keep going. Today we are remembering that this is a very special day, January 24th, because on January 24th, thank you everybody for the thumbs up, on January 24th in 1848, gold was first found by James Marshall. So today is the anniversary of that finding. Now I'm going to turn you around and let you look at some of these maps around us and tell you a little bit about the history of gold and the gold rush. So here is a picture of Sutter's mill, and the story goes that the gentleman in front of it is in fact James Marshall, who was the one who found the gold. But as you can tell, it's kind of hard to identify him, so that's okay though. This is in fact the Sutter's mill. This picture was taken in 1852, and by then you can tell it's already a little bit worn down, but that's okay. This map here, I just love this map. One is actually a map that was created by William Tecumseh Sherman. So a lot of people don't know that we have a Sherman connection here in Sacramento and in California maybe. But this map was in fact created by him, and it depicts where that sawmill was. Now this is a map of it was called the Kaluma Valley, which is a name that was given to this area by the Nisenan people that inhabited the region first. Today we know it as Kaluma. So if you want to go to the actual site where gold was discovered, you have to go to Kaluma, which is a little bit east of Sacramento. So how this kind of works here and how everything was found is here you've got the South Fork of the American River. And then what they did was John Sutter in Sacramento, he realized that they needed lumber in order to build houses and kind of build up this area. And so he hired James Marshall to build a sawmill and to cut down trees, create lumber, and then bring it back to him in Sacramento. And the reason why it had to be up here was that you need trees. You actually need an abundance of these resources. So he did this, and he did it on the South Fork of the American River. And what he did is this is called a trail, a tail race. And what they did was they dammed up this area, which means that they could kind of control the water and how much water is going in. They built the sawmill right there, and then the water continues out. So they are using water to push this wheel onto the sawmill, and the wheel causes the blade to go up and down, and there you go, you have a sawmill. That's a very simplified version of how that works. So what happened though on January 24th was that it had been a somewhat rainy time, and what that meant was that it caused a lot of debris, a lot of rocks, a lot of things to kind of clog up the mill. And so James Marshall had to go and inspect the mill. And when he was inspecting the mill and trying to clear out by the wheel, he discovered 3 pieces of what appeared to be gold. Now, of course, James Marshall, he does not own this sawmill, he does not own this land. And so he says, okay, well, I don't want to be made a fool, right? I need to verify that this is, in fact, gold. So they do a couple of somewhat primitive tests to see if it is gold. And the nuggets, they pass those tests while they are here in Kaluma, in this by the sawmill. And so James Marshall says, okay, I need to tell my boss, John Sutter, that about this discovery, about this potential discovery. And so what does he do? He leaves a couple days later, and we have a diary entry from John Sutter himself, who says that on the evening of January 28th, Mr. Marshall arrived from the mountains on very important business. Very important business indeed. So Marshall himself came with the gold. There in Sutter's Fort, they did more testing, a little bit more in-depth testing. In fact, they tested the gold with nitric acid to see if the gold would tarnish. It did not. And Sutter also apparently read a long article on gold in his Encyclopedia Americana, because, you can't just Google these things. He has to figure out how to do this. And he declared, Sutter declared it to be gold of the finest quality of at least 23 carats. So that is pretty big find. Now, of course, though, he says, all right, well, don't tell anyone, right? Because we need to keep this a secret. Otherwise, I'm going to lose all my workers, and I still need to, have my mill working, and I still need to have my business. And so John Sutter is kind of like, all right, don't tell anybody. Well, sorry, that didn't work. The story goes that there was a worker at the sawmill itself who came back to Sutter's Fort and went to the Brannan place where he sold some drinks, and he goes to buy brandy from that store and pays using gold. And the proprietor says, okay, where'd you get this gold? And the guy is, oh yeah, okay, well, don't tell anyone, but there's gold up in the American River. Well, this partner of Sam Brannan's tells Sam Brannan immediately, and Sam Brannan's like, okay, that's interesting. He goes to San Francisco, and he proceeds to buy up every single pan that he can find, every shovel he can find, every bucket that he can find, and he buys out all of San Francisco, allegedly, of all of these supplies. And he brings them back to his store to sell them at a much, much higher price. And then, of course, Sam Brannan owns a newspaper, the California Star, in San Francisco. And so the story goes, and I guess some of this is probably legend, but the story goes that Sam Brannan then ran up and down the streets of San Francisco yelling, gold, gold, in the American River. And he printed it in his newspaper, and thus start what would become one of the largest migrations in human history, the California Gold Rush. Now, the gold that Marshall originally found on that day, on January Day in 1848, was in fact given to William Tecumseh Sherman and Captain Joseph Folsom and a military governor, Richard B. Mason, the three nuggets. And they were sent it back east, and eventually confirmed by President Polk in his annual address to Congress on December 5th, 1848, that yes, gold had been found in California. That gold is on display in the Smithsonian Museum of American History. Now, I'm going to turn it around so you're looking at me one more time. And we're going to wander outside because we're going to do some gold panning today, and I just want to show it off real quick. But before we head outside, I'm going to show you a map of the Sierra Foothills and kind of explain why this gold rush was so different than so many other gold rush. Because gold had been discovered in California even before this one, and yet this is the one that just hundreds of thousands of people changed their lives and moved here to California in order to try and get rich. So let me show you this amazing map that we have on display here at the Sacramento History Museum. And it shows you that all these little triangular tent type things up and down the Sierras here are workings for gold. And so what kind of made this gold rush so special is that gold wasn't just found in one place. It is rich in gold in the Sierras, in the foothills here. So as you can see, this reaches all the way up. Let's see if I can find these are by the Butte Mountains, Yuba City, all the way up north here. And then you come back down. Here is Sutter's Fort, you can see. And then you keep coming down and down. And so yes, it's just a big range, I would say. So people really thought that they would be able to get rich quick if they just came to Sacramento, to California, to the foothills, and that gold was theirs for the taking. You could just pretty much pick it up off of the ground. Unfortunately, most of the people, of course, did not get rich from the gold rush, but they did stay in Sacramento for different reasons, because Sacramento is rich in a lot of other ways. A lot of the people who stayed realized that they could make money in different ways. Remember Sam Brannan, who bought all of the supplies that he possibly could? Well, when these people arrived in this very remote area that didn't have any buildings or, infrastructure at all, he was the person who had all the supplies. Sam Brannan became California's first millionaire, but he did end up dying penniless because his wife ended up divorcing him. But that's a different story. So let's real quick look at a map, and then we'll head out and see the gold panning. So here, we like to point out in our museum lobby here, this is a painting done in October 1848 of the Sacramento waterfront, so pretty much right outside our museum's front door. And you can see, you know, there's some ships and some tents, but not too busy. And then here, December 1849, just 1 year later, you can see how much the city grew just in that 1 year. And that's just from the gold discovery and everybody coming. And you can still see, I love this picture because you've got some buildings, but you also have tents, and you've just got a really good mix of how people lived here. So people, though, did find out that if you came to Sacramento, if you really wanted to make money, you probably needed to be a merchant or find something to do that maybe wasn't a very difficult, sometimes backbreaking gold panning experience. So we're going to come outside here, and I'm just going to show you that we are, in fact, panning for gold today. So if you wanted to come by and try your luck, there is real gold in our troughs, and you can come learn how to pan for gold, learn the techniques that we know, and do some placer mining here with us. So I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, always just let us know. And yeah, happy January 24th. Thanks.